For time immemorial, medicines have been the mainstay for human health and the treatment of diseases. But we know very little about how these medicines were developed from when they were discovered to where we are today and the future challenges that we are facing, the current challenges and the future perspective. Yeah. So, in this particular episode, ladies and gentlemen, I will be sharing with you brief on how medicine came about. When I say medicine, I'm talking about pharmacy, generally the area of medications, how medications came about, and where we are currently, and the future perspective, so that you can better understand whenever we're talking about shortage of medications, because we are really, really in trouble if we do not take care. And most often, for us to understand the severity of the problem we are facing, we need to look back at history. What does history say? And history makes us to understand that when it comes to medicine, the early man went out in search of food and he ate at random. And in the process of eating at random, he came across those that were edible and he classified them as edible. And from there, those that caused him constipation, he knew that he was to use those ones for diarrhea, in the treatment of diarrhea. Those that caused diarrhea, he was using in the treatment of constipation, and just like that. And this information was passed on from generation to generation, and each generation took the information, learned, added new information, and was passed on to where we are today. And some very, very notable figures contributed to the development of medicine or to the development of pharmacy from where it was to how it is today. And one thing you must know is that pharmacy as a profession started with people who were just looking out for themselves. And when they had injuries, they had infections, they were using clay, they were using cold water to try to manage the condition and manage the situation, just to ensure that they could get healing from the thing. And some went further to using plants, and the very first records of plants that were available to humankind for use was the Papyrus Ebers. And this Papyrus Eber was a collection of over 800 prescriptions mentioning approximately 700 medications in it. And this text was existing since the 1500 BC. And from there on, new information was added. We had there's ancient China, how they added information from the Shenong Empire, they added information to it. We have ancient Greece, ancient Babylonian, how these different people got studied, added new information to what was learned already, and it was the profession was gaining ground and gaining ground. But one thing that was still very not fully understood about the profession at that time is that it was not yet separated from medicine. It was still combined to medicine. So pharmacy and medicine was still treated as one. But the the Arabs were the very first people to note the separation of pharmacy from medicine. And this separation of pharmacy from medicine came and it started in Baghdad when they see the first medicine store, the first drug store was established. And now with the establishment of this first drugstore, some European countries who were in close communication with the Arabian countries saw it, and they started establishing stores in the 17th century. They started establishing medicine stores, and from there they saw the need of completely separating medicine from pharmacy. So medicine and pharmacy became separate entity. And then we was from there that we had people who started practicing only pharmacy, and those that started practicing only medicine. Because before, most people who were practicing pharmacy were equally practicing medicine. Like for instance, Hippocrates, like Theophrastus, like Paracelsus, like Dioscoride. Those are people who were practicing both medicine and pharmacy, and notably Hippocrates. And now, but there was a need to separate these particular branches, because with the growing interest that was gaining, the growing need for medicine, people needed to specialize in something. They needed to be specialists in a particular thing to discover things that would be beneficial to the people in that particular domain. And with this separation came in. Now, after this separation, what happened next was that the very first trademark drug that was available in the market was Terra Silagilata. Terra Silagilata was the very first trademark drug that was marketed in the market. And this is to tell you that this trademark thing has been existing for years, it has been existing for centuries. And from there on, new information was added to it, and we went to the era of synthetic chemistry. With the synthetic chemists now came into play, and these chemists, when they came into play, what were they exactly doing? Yes, indeed. What were these chemists exactly doing? These chemists, notably the presence of Setuna, who discovered alkaloids. And Setuna was one of those persons that went into the field of natural medicine and discovered that plants, as a source of medicine, had natural components that could be beneficial to man. So they started studying these things, they started utilizing them to say, okay, when you take plants, you have some alkaloidal properties, you have some glycosidal properties, you have some terpenoids, saponins, and all of those things that we know today in them that contribute to different physiological activities we observe. We get benefits from plants as today, and plants have been the mainstay of medicine. At that time, plants were the mainstay, but that time too, with this synthetic chemistry coming in, there we witness a number of synthetic drugs coming to play, like the amitriptyline that came into play. We witnessed numerous drugs, notably even the paracetamol that we have today, that came into play. And these drugs and medications now gain so much wave and the things they're trying to do. But among all these things that were developed, we still had some very notable developments that they are worth mentioning. And one of them is the development of biologics. And now, when we say biologics, what do we mean? Before, in the management of a disease like diabetes, it was addressed as a disease of the rich because only the rich people could afford pigs at that time. So when the fall crisis, that means when they, when they are suffering, the symptoms of their diabetes comes, they get to kill one pig and then get the pancreas of the pig because the insulin is found in the pancreas. So they get the pancreas of the pig and then get insulin from there and administer to them to alleviate their symptoms. But the average poor person could not afford it. So it was usually the disease of the rich. And it was even so the disease of the rich because most often the poor people were living on natural things. They could not afford some of these things in supermarkets and all of these other refined things. So they were living on things that were available in nature, and because of that, they rarely presented with some of the things as we do today. Now, that was another thing, the one of biologics. But how was that particular issue combated? The issue was combated because now it was noticed that over the years, the number of people that were increasingly suffering from diabetes mellitus increased. The number of people were constantly increasing, and there was a need to get remedy that will meet the needs of the multitude of people that were suffering from such a disease. So scientists came in and they studied the genes that code for the production of insulin. When they understood the genes that code for the production of insulin, they used E. coli, Escherichia coli, they biosynthesized it. They did what they call biotechnology, bioengineering, or genetic engineering. They genetically engineered E. coli, and they were able to get insulin and get it available to the common man. So today everybody has access to insulin, but before, at that time, it was not like that. Thanks to science and its innovations and development, we have been able to reach this level in the management of diabetes. Another era that was very problematic was the era of microorganisms, the era of infections. And this era of infection was noted by the very first antibiotic that was discovered was a sulfonamide. And then from there, accidentally, as they always say, when God wants to bring something to humans, he'll pass through another human who is doing something. So accidentally got through Sir Alexander Fleming's, brought us penicillins in the year 1929. Now, penicillins were discovered in the year 1920, but that discovery went unnoticed. The discovery went unnoticed. It was not until the 1940 that Florey and Chain had to do large scale production of penicillin. But the large scale production of the penicillin was forced by World War II because at that time soldiers of World War II were suffering from a disease called gas gangrene, which means it could lead to the amputation of the lower limbs or the upper limbs. And because of this, Florey and Chain had to go into the large scale production of penicillin. Penicillin came to these soldiers of this World War II as the wonder drug because it came and it was able to save these patients, save this category of patients, and their limbs were not amputated. And now, from there on, this period, the period from 1940 to 1960 or 1980, was described as the antibiotic era. New antibiotic molecules were discovered. Other new molecules like streptomycin, erythromycin, they were discovered, and now antibiotics were just available anyhow. But one thing that was noticed at that time with these antimicrobial agents was that Sir Alexander Fleming is who discovered it. Noticed people were using it indiscriminately, and he warned at that time that if people are not very careful with the way they use this particular molecule that has come as a savior to the world, the time will come when there will be no molecule to help humankind and humans will die, not because God has decided to kill everybody again, but because microorganisms have taken over. And he termed it a microorganism revolution. And it is something we are currently witnessing today, because today you go to hospital and you're suffering from a particular infection, you're unable to get treatment for that infection. And there is a very, very nice and very beautiful term we call it antimicrobial resistance. You hear that antibiotics no longer work, antifungals no longer work, anti-malarials no longer work. Why are they no longer working? Because over the years we have abused them. We have exposed these microorganisms to suboptimal concentrations of these particular molecules, and because of that, the microorganism learned how to resist the action of these particular drugs. So the next time we administer to kill them, they had already developed methods to resist them, that already developed ways to evade the actions of this molecule. And this is where we are today. Every day in the lab, we keep entering every day we keep entering the lab to look for new drugs, because that is what is happening. Resources have been deployed heavily for research and development in the field of antimicrobial, because it's a global problem. It's a global issue. After cancer and so many other things, we have that of antimicrobial resistance that is affecting all countries around the globe. It's affecting all countries around the globe. So, ladies and gentlemen, why am I doing this video? I'm doing this video for you to understand that medicine came from natural products, from plants, and we are slowly returning back to plants because we have exhausted almost all synthetic options. They come with a lot of side effects, some of them which are very, very terrible, and now we are looking for safer alternative to what is already existing. Those that are existing now, they are slowly, microorganisms are slowly developing resistance against them. There's a need for us to get new ones. And with this, we are calling on you to join us in the fight against antimicrobial resistance, in the fight against antibiotic misuse, in the fight against antifungal misuse, in the fight against anti-malaria misuse, because it is commonplace that someone feel sick, you just feel like they are sick and they go and say, give me malaria and typhoid medicine. Now, why are you getting malaria and typhoid medicine? What test did you do to know that you're suffering from malaria or typhoid? And some of you vendors, the pharmacy personnel, the drug dealers, when you are selling these things, you should think beyond just the present, because when you sell them without prescriptions, you sell them without any, without any confirmation test that you are selling this for this particular microorganism, you are endangering the future, because in the future we will not have molecules to deal with these particular pathogens. We will not have molecules to deal with, and we will be the ones to suffer. And you, who is a dealer, will have a pharmacy, will have a magazine full with medicines, no one to buy them, because we already know they are not working. So please, it is a fight that we all have to fight, the fight of medicine, and we should return back to natural medicine, because one of the things we commonly hear about our natural product is that it's not standardized. It is true, it is not standardized, but who is supposed to standardize it? It is us that is supposed to standardize it. Ancient China, present China, when we look at the Chinese medical medicine practice, there's the ancient Chinese medicine. They have already standardized their medicine, their traditional medicine. Chinese traditional medicine has been standardized, and now you go to hospitals in China, they prescribe you herbs. They prescribe herbs in given quantities. They standardize it. They made it for themselves. In India, it is the same thing. And in so many other countries, it is the same thing. What is happening to us in Africa? Is it impossible for us to make these standards? We can make them. You and I can make them. Join me, let us work together to ensure that we standardize our own traditional medicine. And to standardize our own traditional medicine, we have to start by cultivating the traditional medicine. We can start by cultivating it because at the end of the day, ours is by far the safest. We have been fooled over the years to believe that what we have is not good, only that of the white man is good. Unfortunately, that reality is no longer existing. We have come to the point that we know ours is by far the safest. Let us rely on us. Let us build on what has been given to us naturally. We have rich flora and fauna found in Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, South Africa, East Africa, West Africa. We have these things found there. Let us leverage on this because science, medicine originated from plants. They went away from natural sources and they're returning back to natural products. And this is something that I will tell you as I'm ending this video. For the fact the Bible gives us, the Holy Book, the Bible gives us an account that God created plants, and then when He created every other thing, He then created man to enjoy in those things. That means there are certain things about this particular earth that plants know that human beings do not know. And for the fact that we have the opportunity to use them to treat our diseases, it means that God, who made them for a particular reason. So let us start, even animals, let us start reconsidering the fact that this conventional medicine is not always the best form of medicine. Our traditional medicine is still very good, and this is a medicine for the future. This is the medicine for the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, you who is listening to this, whether in the morning, in the afternoon, the evening, wherever you're listening to it, in Africa, Asia, Europe, America, wherever you're listening to this, please join me, let us fight antimicrobial resistance because that is something, that's a domain that I'm very much interested in. We have been working over the years to look for new lead molecules, but alone I cannot do it, and that is why I'm calling for your help, so together we can be able to find new molecules against these deadly pathogens that we are facing on a regular basis. Thank you.